And we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting edition of UMKC Quick Bites. Today, I am very excited to be joined by Professor Misty Campbell of the UMKC Criminal Justice and Criminology Department, who's here to discuss her exciting new program called the Kansas City Community Resilience Archive. This is a great new program working to recognize change makers here in the Kansas City community. And I'm going to turn it right over to Professor Campbell, who's going to tell us more about this project. Professor Campbell, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share with you guys about this project. It has been something we've been working on for a while to try and put together in connection with some of the community partners that we work with. One of the things we know is that our community partners do amazing work, but sometimes they don't get recognized, right? And the ability to recognize people and validate what they're doing is really important. We know that Kansas City, a lot of the conversation around our city focuses on the violence in it. And while we absolutely need to talk about that, and I'm a CJC person, I want to talk about it with you, right? I also want to talk about the people who do try to make it better and who are making it better, right? And so that's really where this project started from. So this project, broad scale, focuses on allowing us to recognize people that are change makers in Kansas City, both those that are change makers who are working in an official capacity, right? So they work at a nonprofit, they work for the government, right? Those underpaid, overworked employees who could really use some acknowledgement for what they're doing. And we also wanted to acknowledge the people who aren't working in an official capacity or are not paid for that work, the volunteer who's constantly doing something, right, to make Kansas City better, the person who serves as a mentor, or as I refer to it, like the neighborhood auntie, right, like the person, right, like when we were growing up, everybody had that one person in the neighborhood that you felt safe there. They always had something to drink, they had snacks, they were the one yelling at you to make sure you got your gloves on, right? Those people help make Kansas City resilient too, right? And what we know about violence is that just like it's little acts that can lead up to a large scale engagement with violence, we also know that resilience is the big things and it's the little things, right? It's the people that make you feel valued and important that you can go to, that can help somebody who's struggling with the violence around them. And so we have an exhibit that we're going to be hosting where we'll be highlighting the people who are working in those official capacities and the people in unofficial capacities. We'll also have a timeline to kind of show you the history of resilience in Kansas City, because it's so important to understand the historical and contemporary context in which people are working and doing good things. We're also going to have an entire resource section. So on the archive website right now, we have some resources up about community trauma and community resilience, and we're going to continue to add to that page. And really exciting is that we're also putting together a conference that'll happen biannually that will bring in some of these exhibit people to talk with juniors and seniors about resilience and help build the next wave of change makers in Kansas City. So really broad, that's what the project is, but I'm really excited about what we're doing with it.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Is there something that our students or the community can do to help or participate right now?
Yes, we want your nominations. If you know somebody who's working to help make Kansas City better, maybe they are working with people who've experienced victimization, maybe they're working with people who've caused harm, or maybe they're working in a supportive service, right? So, working at a food bank, working to create policy change, right? Working in the school system, any of those pieces, right? Those people that make Kansas City a better place. Maybe they help it be safer. Maybe they help bring justice and accountability. Or maybe they're just the person who's always there, right? And people can count on them. So come nominate those people. If you know somebody who volunteers, somebody who mentors, if you're just thinking to yourself, I don't know where they fit, but somebody should recognize this person, send them to us. Let us work through that piece. The nomination process is super simple. It's about a 10-minute process. We need to know who they are and a paragraph about them. If you want to submit a letter with it, you can, but you don't have to. Our goal is to make this simple. We know that if you know the people making a difference, you're probably one of those change makers too, and you're busy, right? We want to make sure that this is simple for you. So you can go to our website. It's really easy to remember. It's the Kansas City Community Resilience Archive, and we'll make sure you get a link for that. Go to the exhibit section, nomination form, and submit it for us. We would love to hear who you believe is making a difference in Kansas City.
Sounds fantastic. Is it all right if I share the website right now? So
Yes.
look-see?
And I also will tell you the really fantastic thing is we'll be going through these nominations to pick out our 25 that are working in an official capacity and 25 who are not. We're going to bring them in, do a headshot with them. We're going to do interviews with them. And then they're going to be featured not only on the website, but we're also going to be doing a public exhibit, and we're fingers crossed we have our location here in the next couple of weeks. With COVID restrictions changing, we've got some movement happening, but there'll be a public exhibit that you'll be able to attend, and then they'll also be featured on this website. And on the website, each year, we're going to add 2 additional people. And so we'll really be able to grow this acknowledgement of who's doing good work.
It sounds fantastic. You know, I noticed the slogan of your website is "Our city has grit and let's talk about it." Can you tell us a little about grit and also why it's important to talk about it?
Yes. So community trauma is when we have high rates of exposure, repeated rates of exposure to gun violence and or the drug market, right? And we know that that can have a tremendous impact on the community itself, on the people that live in those neighborhoods. We also know that there are a lot of people that are still doing really awesome work and they are thriving. And that's the grit piece, right? That I can live and I can sustain and I can thrive and I can stay here and make my city better, right? To me, that's the grit piece. And we don't talk enough about that. We end up talking a lot about the negative consequences of violence. And again, we should be, right? But I think that it's also important to recognize the way in which people build community with each other despite that type of community trauma, right? That they are still building community with each other. They're still connected with each other. We all still love the Chiefs and the Royals together, right? So building connection, I think, is really important. And to me, that's the grit piece. Is I want us to talk more about the people that are here and that are doing good things, because I think that it's important for the younger generation to see that. It's really easy to look at all of the negative commentary and conversation and feel a little bit hopeless. And I want to provide them an additional narrative, not a counter narrative, but an additional narrative to that.
Second part of the story that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
And is that sort of why the timeline is important to you as well?
It is, because I think that it's really easy to look around, and maybe that's not the best way to say it. I think that even for myself, sometimes you look around and you say, there's so much going on. I don't know what difference I can make, or I don't know that I have the time or the energy for it. And part of the timeline is showcasing that there's always been difficult moments in our history. And even in those difficult moments, there have been people with grit. There have been people who are building resilience that say, despite everything that's going on, this is still my community and I care about it.
I'm going to ask you one last question, which is, why are you using public nominations? What do public nominations help us to discover about the Kansas City grit?
Yes. Well, I might define grit a little bit differently than you'll define it, right? And so it's really important to be getting some of that piece in, right? What makes somebody a good leader? We might all have the same elevator speech we would give, but if you really got into it, people would tell you different things. And we want to make sure that we're able to really encompass what makes somebody a leader for the broader community. We also want to make sure that everybody gets to have a voice, because we don't always see that, right? You don't always feel like you get a voice, or when you get a voice, it might feel like it's only to talk about what's going wrong. And so we wanted to make sure that we were reaching a wide amount of people. The other piece is, we don't really get to talk about the neighborhood auntie. We don't really get to know the mentor that's serving in an unofficial capacity. We don't get to see those people, but they are building resilience and are really a backbone for Kansas City resilience. We can't really reach those people broadly without inviting the public into the conversation. The other piece is we really shouldn't be doing anything for people. We should always be doing it with them. And so part of the public nomination is also the idea of nothing for me without me, right? This is about Kansas City. So we want Kansas City to tell us who the people are that are building resilience for them.
Fantastic. So just as a reminder, here at the Kansas City Community Resilience Archive.com, you can go right to exhibit and nomination form for our heroes and nominate these folks who are making Kansas City a better place to be, to live, and to fight back against some of those things that make us need that grit.
Yeah, and I know it says March 1st on here. We have nominations open until the 5th, and because we want to make sure that we get a wide range of nominees in. So please go today, tomorrow, tell your friends to go nominate somebody. Let's make sure that we are really doing our part to showcase the really amazing work people are doing. And, right now, I think all of us could use a little more acknowledgement of the grit we have, and it might be nice for us to receive that. So please go nominate people, tell other people about it, and get them to nominate others as well.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, folks, remember March 5th, get your nominations in. And remember this, if you're ever feeling a little down, sometimes a really great thing to do is to take a moment and recognize other folks. And thank you again, Professor Campbell, for talking to us about this amazing project. We're going to be really excited to see it. We'll certainly come and check back with you as the project goes on and we start to get closer to these exciting things like the resources being released on the website, the conferences. We're certainly going to be checking back. But thank you again. And remember, folks, Kansas City's got grit. Recognize those folks contributing to it by March 5th. Thank you again.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Bye.